Hey, this is James Diamond with GlockCNC, and this is the update for January 2023. So here's the latest and greatest. First of all, we'll start to talk about the motor. Actually, first of all, let me back up a little bit. I will say that some of the parts are going to start looking different from now on, and the biggest difference is going to be how some of the parts go together, and they'll just be silver instead of the anodized black. And if we take a look at, let's see if I can find a better picture here. I will scan forward. All right, this will be a good picture. It's a little bit bigger. So this L bracket right here, well, maybe not, because this black here is hard to define. But you can see there's an L bracket here. And this L bracket, when we had these, this one was made in Asia. We had these made in China. And they would make these L brackets for us out of actually a bigger chunk of steel. Because that is impractical for us to make, and we're bringing as much as possible, bring everything that we can to be made here in our own shop to have better control as far as getting parts done and made, and better control over the quality of it. Because it seems like anymore, I would say for the past 3 or 4 years, every time, doesn't matter what it is that we order, every time we order something out of China, at least some part of it is going to have to be redone. Maybe a portion of them turned out good, another portion of them I can't either use or they have to be redone. And they don't like remaking parts, and they certainly don't like giving you refunds. In fact, they didn't give us, we had some really big orders some years ago, and we never got our money back on those, and they just said, well, that's as good as we can do, keep the parts. So we decided to move as much of it as possible over here. One of the things we're making are the brackets. So what will happen is each of these L brackets will now be 2 pieces, and right here in this edge, for example, and then on this edge, there'll be 2 of these screws holding the L bracket together, and they work great. They're very durable that way, having a steel connect those two. And it's a way that we can keep making them here and not have to raise the price of it, because the price of everything has gone up. But doing it this route has really turned out to be the best way for us to make it. And so in a nutshell, these are going to ship flat as far as flat pieces, and then there's just 2 screws on each end of this to put in to make the L bracket itself. It'll be pretty self-explanatory. So that is the update on that. Now let's take a look at some of the headstocks. So if we take a look at the headstocks, one of the changes, there will be black, these black colored headstocks. Those will be the same ones that will be going out for a little bit yet. But the newer ones that are going to be coming out, and we're almost out of these, so the newer ones that are come out are going to be a little bit different. For those guys who order the TAG, it's going to look like this, but it's going to be silver. It's going to just be aluminum. And it'll have these flanges on the side. For the guys who are Shoreline guys, these flanges are not necessary, since it mounts using a stud and then a conical shape screw that screws to the stud that goes in here. And these sides aren't necessary for that. So Shoreline guys, you won't see these on the side. TAG guys, you'll see that on the side. Alternatively, for you guys who might want to change from a Shoreline to a TAG at some point, I would just go ahead and order the TAG version of it, since it should have this mount system on the side of it. So, you know, or if it doesn't have the mount system on the side of it, make sure you let us know ahead of time that, you know, hey, I might want to upgrade to a TAG. Can I get one, you know, with the side mount in addition to the sides on it like this? So, all right, so that's the update on those. And now as far as process, where we're at like I said, this week, the rest of this week is all just going to be making motor mounts, and I have an X amount of them that I want to make, and it could run into the next week that I might still be making motor mounts. This week got cut a little short because my wife had a few days off, and we spent those few days at the early part of the week together. So it might actually run the next week. And so part of next week, the latter part of next week, I will start making some of the headstock casings itself, because all of the R8 and the ISO 20 headstocks, the ones I have remaining, I mean, I can use them, but I'm just not comfortable using a lot of them because they get some defects built into them. So what I decided to do is, I know it takes a little longer, but I'm just going to make our headstocks and use ours as opposed to, I got a few good ones left that'll be sending out as far as R8 and ISO 20s, But by and large, I'd just be sending ours out. The new ones I'll be making because I'm just tired of having to deal with, little weird things that were problematic with some of the ones that we got from China. So the last part of next week is going to be headstocks, and that next following week, that's all going to be headstocks because I got a lot of headstock casings that have yet to be made. As far as the spindle arbors themselves, I have a few of the R8s that'll be getting out here that'll be leaving real soon, and those will be leaving when I get the new headstock casings made. I kind of wanted to use the old ones, but as I got to put them together, I don't want to use these. I don't want to use those. They're just got too much weirdness in them. I got a handful of them that are good, and I'll use those, but the rest of them I'm not going to use. The R8s, I have a lapping set where you put the R8 in. The top part of that R8 is what's called the pilot area, and as you stick it into the headstock, it kind of pilots up into it. That pilot area in the spindles is too tight. I've mentioned this before, and what I was doing was I need to do this differently, that as I was sending them out, I was lapping them out and then would send them out. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to lap all of them this month. I'm just going to lap all of it out together, just get them all done. So all of those arbors, headstock, all those spindle arbors will just be ready to go, because doing onesie twosie at a time, it just delays everything. I just need to get them all done at the same time. It's the same thing with the ISO 20. There are a few ISO 20s where the drawbar goes into the top. The drawbar fit too tightly in there. So I'm not going to bore out the actual spindle itself, but I'm just going to reduce the size of the drawbar so it'll fit in and out there. There are some also some R8s that I have to shave some material off the back of it, so that the collet will fit all the way in there. So again, these are some things that have been an issue of getting parts out of Asia, and at this point we can build everything except the motors and the spindles here. The spindles to get turned and ground here stateside, extremely expensive. So expensive, in fact, that it would just make the headstocks totally unaffordable, unfortunately. And it's not practical for us to buy a large Studer grinder or something like that to get these made. So as we get parts in on the spindles, what ends up happening is anymore a lot of them will end up being good, and then the rest of them will have to be fixed in some way, and this just seems to be the way it is with anything we get out of Asia anymore. So that's the latest and greatest on those. The BT30s, the 5Cs, we now have some 5C spindle arbors in stock now, so I can get to sending some of those out. And the BT30s, I have another batch. I've got some left that I can still be able to send out now to some guys for sure from some orders here. And those, they all need just a little bit of work to be done with them before I get those sent out. And that's what's so time consuming on a lot of this, is having to do these little tweaks and fixes to get the headstocks, the spindles perfect in order to get sent out. But we'll have a new batch that's coming into those. The next batch now, there's going to be 10 days here, or about 15 days it ends up being, that they don't do any work in Asia. So realistically, I think by the time we get those, it's probably going to be April. They'll probably come here in April. But I do have some currently, like I say. It's just a little slow getting them out because I've got to come in and resurface some areas of it, and it's just a slow process. But anyway, they're great spindles. Oh, and the machines that we use we bought some larger benchtop machines that we retrofit to CNC to have one machine just do two parts. This machine only does two parts, another machine only do two parts or one part in some instances. So the jigs, the setups can remain just on the machines, and it's a lot less setup and a lot less chance for a mistake. One of the machines, this has kind of slowed us down here just a smidge, is one of the machines that was the very first machine we got as far as the benchtop machine that we got in. It was, it's like a 600, 700 pound machine. Probably by the time all the CNC stuff is on it, it's at least 700 pounds. It's one of those it's had a lot of gremlins on it, and sometimes it just kind of loses its Z-axis positioning on it for some reason. And The retrofit kit we used for CNC wasn't really that great, so a lot of learning experience on that one. But the biggest issue we ran into on that one is the kind of the center of it, the whole length of the bed. If you look at it sideways, there's a hump in it. If you take a parallel bar, you can put a parallel bar on it and just kind of spin it because the hump in the middle, and that's always something it has to overcome. So we just now got the retrofit kit for our other benchtop mill. That took it, instead of 20 days like the gentleman was anticipating, it took us closer to into the third month to actually get it. Everybody's running behind on stuff, so but we finally got that, and realistically I would like to say that I'll be able to get the other machine up and running this month, but I just don't see that happening because I have to get these part runs done when it comes to the headstock casings. I've got one really big order. I got to get all those headstock casings made, and the motor brackets. I got to get all those done too. So I'm going to say probably won't be able to get to working on the other mill until maybe mid-February or early March. I might be able to get on that. And that mill is a much better mill, and that will speed things up, and they'll have more machines with the fixtures already on them, and that'll greatly speed things up, when I don't have to do quite as much setup. And then I'm using a 4th axis to actually make the headstocks. It's just easier to rotate the headstock around to do the surfaces. As far as I know, we've talked about in the past, I've talked about some products yet to come out, and those, I'm just not going to be getting really any new products as far as brand new introductions of products out for a little bit, because I've just still got to get the procedures done, and the CNC machines that are retrofit all done, and all that, and get this stuff going the way I want it to go first before I introduce too much new. I will say one caveat to that: the new thing that will exist, and this really isn't all that new. It's just an adaptation of what I currently offer, and it's an adaptation that I myself end up having to make and use myself. Therefore, it's easy to make it available without putting myself behind. Is the adaptation right here for the Grizzly G0704. This is really a small benchtop mill that I'm using for a few particular things, and this is the adapter to use the BT30 on it, and also this will end up being a 5-axis, and so the 5-axis that will be coming out probably in the summer. It's an easy introduction for us because it's something I got to make to use this particular mill for 5-axis work. The other is just an adaptation of the BT30 headstock like here, and that's actually the larger benchtop machines that we bought. All I'm doing, I'm not even using the R8 that came with it, except for certain really low speed things. I just have bolted on our BT30 on the side of these larger mills, and that's what everything we build with these BT30 headstocks, everything, because they're very rigid. And initially I didn't know if putting our headstock on the side of the other mill's headstock would be a good idea, if it would work as far as rigidity, but it's actually worked great. And the other thing that is kind of a bonus is if you put a larger vise on the table and you use the R8, with the headstock that came with the mill, the headstock on that is directly lined up with the column, so the vise actually bumps into the bellows that protects the Z-axis column, and you don't have as much room to work with. But if with putting our BT30 to the side, and I'll put pictures of this on the website when I just offer it this way. There's no real adapter for it, but I'll put some articles up and offer it this way so people can just put that on the side. And the nice thing is the vise no longer is in line with the column, so it doesn't bump into the column, and you can get a whole lot more. Well, I say a whole lot more. It's not not like you're getting another 5-6 inches, but even if it's only sometimes 2 inches on the Y, that makes a pretty big difference. So you can use that vise and you get a lot more movement out of it because it's not in the way of the column by having your headstock on the side of the main headstock. And it's weird. It didn't really affect the rigidity of it all. So anyway, I digress. So there is that. That is the latest and greatest on things. And once again, this is James Diamond with Glock CNC, and I shall talk to you later.